Fidelity Investment is actually saying that they predict Bitcoin can get to $1 billion for one Bitcoin. I came to Bitcoin because I wanted to make money. I stayed in Bitcoin because I saw that we could make a difference. Everybody feels like they're late. In 2017, we were told we were late. When is the best time to plant a tree? It was yesterday. And when is the next time to plant a tree? It's today. Everything goes to zero against Bitcoin. She says because it's going to be the new global reserve currency. I believe that for a very long time, we had a veil over our eyes as far as money is concerned.
At the current recording of this particular podcast today, Bitcoin is currently going at 97,649. Obviously, we're in uncharted territory right now, a place we've never been before. How do you feel, though? You've been in Bitcoin for a very long time.
Well, two things. One, I feel vindicated. The reason is because when we started talking about Bitcoin as early as 2016, people thought, these guys are crazy. What is this thing called Bitcoin? This is a scam, this or that. And then, of course, back in the day, there were still lots of rumors. How will governments react? Will they try to ban Bitcoin? Will they try to outlaw it? So there was still a lot of uncertainty as to, what's going to happen. But what we knew was the fact that even if they wanted to ban Bitcoin, it's one of those things you cannot stop Bitcoin. You can ban it in your country, but you cannot stop it. People can still use Bitcoin in your country, even though you've banned it. So that's the one part, I feel vindicated. The other part, I feel that I should have drank from my own cup, maybe a lot more. In terms of, I feel that I should have saved a lot more Bitcoins than I did.
Can you mention how many you held at some point? Sorry, that was crazy.
That's a tricky one, because the uncle might be listening. Anyway, my uncle,
and it's towards December.
So, but at some point, I actually stopped counting when I saw that at some point I had over 300 Bitcoins.
Sure.
Then I stopped counting. It's
These are conversations that makes us as if we are not doing anything in life. We are just here in jail.
It's capi.
But you must remember, back in the day, Bitcoin was like $300-$400.
Yeah.
You would actually earn, let's say, 2 or 3 Bitcoins a day. But then the cost for you to do business will actually cost you maybe 1 Bitcoin, or something like that.
Okay.
So so that's why I'm saying I stopped counting, because I looked at the Bitcoins that actually came in and the Bitcoin that I spent in the business as well. So that's what I mean.
Yeah. Hey guys, in our current economy, hold up, let me just put this down real quick. Alright, in our current economy, we know we're always looking for smarter ways for our money to work for us and not hard. So I've got something really cool that I've just discovered that I'd like to share with you guys. With Octa, you can trade crypto 24/7. That means no waiting for markets to open, no stressing about market hours, just the freedom to jump in whenever it fits into your schedule, whether it's a Sunday afternoon or late at night. The crypto market is always open for you. They have Bitcoin and other crypto options that make investing really simple and accessible. Plus, I can monitor and adjust my trades whenever I want without needing to be at my desk. It's honestly a game changer for people who want to be able to focus on on trading on weekends without needing to wait for the markets to open. Check it out. Octa makes it easy to get started. You can download the app and it takes minutes to set up. If you're ready to dive into a world of crypto and make your money work for you, give Octa a try. Totally understand. Yeah. What's up, guys? Nqobile Tembane from Top Traders. I'm not sitting alone. I'm sitting with my amazing co-host,
El Presidente MJ Givens Kgasi.
Yes. And we're not sitting alone. We have a returning. You guys loved him. I had him on Market Master, and now he's here with us today, Mr. Lonwabo Fololo. Thank you so much for joining us again. I think right now the conversation that we're going to have today is very important, especially with now the hype of crypto as a whole, because now that crypto is doing what it's doing, there's all eyes are on crypto, all eyes are on Bitcoin right now. Everyone's looking at Bitcoin right now, because I think as we slowly approach that 100, I don't think it's not slow, sorry.
Yeah.
As we approach that 100K, $100,000 to one Bitcoin, I think it's it's going to be a monumental, I don't know what to call it, but a moment. And we're living in it right now. We're living in the history that people are gonna be reading about years to come from now.
Well.
People will be watching these podcasts years from now, when we're present right now, when Bitcoin touched 100. Well, it hasn't yet, but is it gonna touch?
Yeah, it will. Probably in the next few days.
Okay.
Few days.
Yeah. The moment I think today we did touch 98,000.
Okay.
So yeah, that's just $2,000. From 100. We will actually touch in the next few days. But talking about how that's actually going to be a momentous occasion, you must think about it this way. At some point, Bitcoin did reach parity with the dollar, where it was $1 for one Bitcoin. That was a big thing back then. When Bitcoin reached $100, that was a big thing back then.
Yeah.
When it reached $1,000, it was a big thing back then. 10,000. So right now we're talking about $100,000. But when it reaches $1 million, it's going to be a big thing. When it reaches $10 million, it's going to be a big thing. So I think for a lot of people who are looking at the charts or looking at the news around Bitcoin, everybody feels like they're late. In 2017, we were told we were late, because at that time Bitcoin had rallied, and so forth. So people are learning about Bitcoin right now, and there will be a temptation to think that you're late. You are not late.
Yeah, because I've been feeling like that.
Yeah.
I think I have this idea that, and I think it's I sit down with a lot of people, so obviously there's a lot of ideas that flow through the studios from different people. And I think somebody once said that if you're reading about it or you're thinking about it, you're too late. So you're saying that doesn't apply particularly to crypto?
It's like what they say, like when is the best time to plant a tree? It was yesterday. And when is the next time to plant a tree? It's today. So as long as you do something about it, yes, you might have missed on the gains of yesterday.
Sure.
But if you do something about it today, then you are ensuring that you're not going to miss out on the gains of tomorrow, because there will be gains tomorrow. It's just that people have to understand the long-term implications, the long-term play of Bitcoin. And I think that's what is missing right now, because a lot of people, just this year alone, beginning of the year, I went on a rant on Facebook urging people to buy Bitcoins, even if you bank for 500 rands every single month. I actually came across that today. I was looking at those posts, and also on my WhatsApp group. And I remember showing someone how much, how many Bitcoins you get for $100. For 100 rands, right? Because you can actually type 100, it'll tell you getting 0. Whatever. And I was saying you can actually buy Bitcoins for 100 rand, So I don't know how many people bought. Some actually did buy. And then when they started seeing some profits, because everybody's looking at it from the rand perspective, some actually sold. Nothing wrong with that, but I think right now they're regretting, And you're forever going to have that scenario with Bitcoin, you know.
Yeah, the other day you told me that I shouldn't focus on the dollar value of Bitcoin. I should rather focus on the how many satoshis one has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is true, because everything goes to zero against Bitcoin. Everything goes to zero against Bitcoin. Whether you're looking at the rand, whether you're looking at gold, whether you're looking at whatever, everything goes to zero against Bitcoin. So if you really want to think about it, the fiat currency, right? They're printing so much money as if it's going out of fashion, right? So that is why you are forever going to see the value of Bitcoin rising, as opposed to other currencies. It's because of the fact that they're printing money. It's like other people would want to look at, even if you look at real estate. Why is real estate getting more and more expensive every single year? It has to do with how the monetary system actually works. How much money gets created and so forth. Now, because of that is why you're actually finding assets becoming a lot more expensive. If you look at what happened with COVID, for example, how did we deal with COVID as governments all over the world? We went on a printing spree. And what happened? The guys who were rich became richer because where they're holding their wealth in assets, So whenever there is excessive printing of money, which creates inflation, the guys who are actually holding assets, those are the guys who are actually becoming a lot more richer. So yeah, your grandfather with your farm, the farm becomes a lot more valuable because of the fact that governments are simply printing money.
Sure. Crypto, what a time to be alive.
Yeah, man. I think the mainstream also has this whole. I was doing an interview last week Friday with ENCA, and the questions were all wrapped around Donald Trump's win as a president. What's your take on it?
So, okay, on the global scale, in my personal opinion, a win for Donald Trump is a win for the world.
Yeah.
Right. For so many different reasons, in terms of his policy stance, in terms of what he stands for, because we've seen quite a lot of stuff that were not necessarily savory, happening in the US under the current regime. So as far as that is concerned, it's a good thing for the world. As far as Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, it's like Santa Claus, has come early. It's a very, very good thing for the crypto community because it was facing undue pressure, from the regulators. And then Trump is taking a different stance to say, let's rather collaborate. Let's understand what this thing is about. How can this thing help, the economy? How can it help our country? And regulating it from that perspective instead of trying to, it's one thing to send out a policeman. We changed the South African police defense force, to the South African Police Service because it's supposed to serve and protect, right? So it's the same thing with the regulators. They're supposed to serve and protect, and not necessarily be a force that is ruling with an iron fist. And that's what we were actually seeing in the US, whereby almost every crypto company in the US was actually being sued. You must remember, as a company, you have to spend money to defend yourself and so forth, whereas the government has got unlimited budget, to summon, whatever number of lawyers they need to summon. And if it happens that at the end of the day, you were not guilty, there was no fraud, there was no corruption, there's nothing that was wrong that was done, the case is closed, you would have lost, all that money in terms of legal fees and so forth. So a win for Trump is a win for the crypto community, not just in America, but globally.
Sure. Did you see that he had something like $150 million donation from the crypto community?
Yeah, the crypto community has become a major block right now.
Yeah.
In America, you've got different blocks. You've got the farmers, the guys in the South.
Yeah.
You've got the black community. You've got the Hispanics. You've got the crypto community. So I want to believe that the crypto community actually decided this win.
Yeah.
They put a lot of money into it. They invited Donald Trump, gave him, excessive coverage, in different platforms. As I really want to believe that the crypto community actually won Donald Trump this presidential election.
Interesting. That's the first
definitely.
I'm hearing of that.
Is it the SEC from the States?
Yeah.
The regulators there.
Yes.
Trump says first day of office, I'm actually firing the head.
Yeah.
So I want to see what will be happening that day on the charts, on the actual charts. We're going to maybe see some appreciation even further.
That's an interesting point. Right now, a very, very interesting point, because Trump is not yet in the White House. Right? He's still president-elect.
Yeah.
But what did we see? Price of Bitcoin went from just over $60,000 to now, almost $100,000. Now, what do you think is going to happen when he actually steps into the White House? Before he even issues his first executive order, we're definitely, as I said, we are in uncharted territories as far as the price of Bitcoin, how far it can go. That's why, and this is not financial advice, I personally believe by the end of the year next year we could see a $250,000 Bitcoin. So
Sure.
yeah.
Giving us ideas, eh?
Yep.
It seems like Gary Gensler, the head of the SEC, is actually preparing to exit. There was a letter that he wrote, and he's talking about his tenure in the SEC in the past. How he's proud of what he's been able to accomplish and so forth. As someone who's already saying his goodbyes.
Yeah, because he's well away. He's coming out. He's coming out.
I think his fate is already sealed.
Yeah, so I think maybe we should just prepare ourselves to have a buy on the 20th of January.
Another buy. Another one. Another buy.
But I think I like the whole idea that it's never too late. Also, the analogy about planting the tree. And all.
I know,
so
right?
it's taking off much pressure from myself, because I always had this thing that it's late. Can I come in now? And yeah, thank you for coming, by the way.
Thanks for having me.
I'm in the same boat as you, honestly. Like when you told me that a few days back, I was just like, sure. Yeah. It's not too late. And how many times as individuals we always feel like everything is so late. Late relative to who as well and to what. We see people moving and it's like, it's late now. And we read about these stories about KFC, about Mang, people who started their businesses in their 50s, 60s or 40s, late 40s or whatnot. And I'm relatively probably the youngest person in the room right now, compared to you guys. And it's just like, I also see my fellow peers, and sometimes I've always felt like, it's late now. Chief, I see they're moving like this. I'm like, I need to push as well. But it's not the case though. So thank you.
But that can also be good. Let me tell you why. So when I did, I'm not sure how much of my story I shared the last time, but when I did my matric, I was a very different person. I failed my matric, right? Not because I was stupid, but because I didn't care. I almost used another word. I didn't care. So as a result, I only the following year, it's when like my mind, was sort of like I wasted time. I shouldn't be where I am. And what happened was, I started, wanting to go back to school. But long story short, 4 years later is when I actually started my first year. 4 years later after having done my matric. So I always had this pressure that I'm actually late. I cannot afford to fail, in class, I'm doing extra work even during varsity holidays. I'm busy looking at books and materials for the next semester or for the next year. So because I felt that that I was late. So for me, it's all about how you internalize everything, right? If you're feeling you are late when it comes to Bitcoin, the question is, what are you going to do about it, right? If you're feeling you're late, it's good. Why? Because you can then internalize that and say, I'm actually going to be a bit more aggressive in my approach to collecting Bitcoin, because I should have started collecting Bitcoin when it was $1,000, when it was $10,000, right? So if you look at it that way, then a feeling like you are late can actually turn out to be a positive feeling, because then you can be a little bit more aggressive in accumulating Bitcoins.
Sure. Then how do we overcome that fear right now? Because yes, I understand the saying that feeling like, okay, it's late now, but okay, I'm just trying to figure out this in my head right now. How do you overcome that fear of actually jumping in right now? Because I think in as much as the people watching right now, they're hearing, they're like, Mr. Fololo, okay, no, we hear you. It's not late. Okay, sharp. But I feel like there's always going to be that thing, that something that's blocking people who, what if it goes down to 70? What if it goes down to 50?
Yeah, so if it goes down, you should thank God, you should thank your ancestors, you should thank whoever, and start scooping up as many Bitcoin as possible. So how we overcome fear is through understanding, it's through knowledge.
Okay.
If you are going to spend, one of the things that I said in a video some time ago, I said, spend at least 30 minutes to an hour every single day learning about Bitcoin. Because over a period of 3 months or 6 months, you would have learned quite a lot that you'll be comfortable in making whatever decision you need to make regarding Bitcoin. So with the amount of time I spent studying this space, I'm confident that if I could, I would even, sell a property to buy Bitcoin. Of course, that's something I would do, right? Because of the information that I am exposed to.
Yeah.
For example, MicroStrategy, on average, they want to buy around about 500 Bitcoins every single day. That's one company. That's MicroStrategy. How many Bitcoins are they producing in a day through mining? 450 Bitcoins.
Okay.
Right? So if this they want to buy 500 Bitcoins a day, there won't be enough Bitcoins in circulation. That they won't be producing enough Bitcoins. We're talking just one company. Now, what did Trump say he's going to do? He's going to make a strategic stockpile of Bitcoin for the US. Now, the US is sort of like dictating in a way to the entire world as far as finances are concerned through Wall Street, right? As a superpower. Now, if they do that, what do you think China is going to do? What do you think Russia is going to do? What do you think the UK is going to do? Australia. So all other countries, whether G7, whether G20, they will actually take the same approach so that America doesn't have undue leverage over them as far as that is concerned, right? So with that kind of information and the fact that one of the biggest asset managers in the world, BlackRock, is heavily invested into Bitcoin. In fact, one of the top 10, it's called Fidelity Investment. Fidelity Investment is actually saying that they predict Bitcoin can get to $1 billion for one Bitcoin. This is not me, Lonwabo Fololo from South Africa, who's not a financial analyst or anything like that. It's not me saying. It's a person who is I think the name is Jurian Tima, something like that. She is the chairperson of Fidelity Investment, and she is saying Bitcoin will get to $1 billion for one Bitcoin by the year 2038. She says because it's going to be the new global reserve currency.
Sure.
It's not crazy to believe that is actually true, because look at it right now. Why do we have BRICS? We have different blocks forming because people are seeing that actually the US dollar is being weaponized and it's being used as leverage against other countries. So countries right now don't necessarily trust the US dollar as the global reserve. So people are looking for a middle ground, something that no country will have undue influence other countries, right, over other countries. Now, I mean, you can look at gold, you can look at, Bitcoin is positioned to be that one, global reserve currency that no one country controls over the other, So, I mean, if I'm inclined to believe that is actually a huge possibility that is actually going to be the case. The other thing that a lot of people don't know is that as from 2025, reserve banks all over the world, through the directive of the Bank of International Settlements, which is the banks of reserve banks, will be able to actually hold Bitcoin in their balance sheets.
Okay.
People don't know how big that is. So, again, another article is saying that possibly in the next 2 months, exchanges could possibly run out of Bitcoins to sell.
I think I read something about that institutions' involvement in crypto is going to make the Bitcoin relatively scarce. And it's going to be relatively expensive now to even possibly get even a coin. I mean, look at BlackRock's involvement in the crypto space now. The ETF they have, is it iShares?
Yes.
Skyrocketing. I mean, for the fact that they are involved, I mean, you can possibly see the future of crypto. I think for me, that's what gave me, confidence when BlackRock came in. It's like, we are going in hard.
Yeah. In fact, in South Africa, I don't know how many people are aware of this. Discovery partnered with BlackRock.
Is it?
Discovery has got a Bitcoin fund. You can actually invest into Bitcoin through Discovery. So if you speak to a financial advisor, I'm not sure how much they know about it, but it was headline. It did make headlines. This was actually very quick. I think it was like a month or two after BlackRock IB shares went live. Discovery actually launched this, but I think it's more for high net worth individuals. So that's why it's not it's not advertised as all the other products that they're actually selling.
Yeah, no, clearly it's for high net worth individuals.
Yeah.
No, all I'm saying is that I had a meeting with a financial advisor a few months back. And I didn't see this. I didn't see this. So I'm like,
You see, in the time and age we're living in right now, knowledge is power. And the way we've been institutionalized through our education system is that don't worry about your teeth. There's a doctor who will actually handle that. Don't worry about your health or your eating, whatever. There's a dietitian, who will tell you exactly what to do. Don't worry about this aspect of your life. There is a person who will tell you exactly what to do, right? So we are outsourcing everything about our lives into trusted professionals, right? So, and that's not how wealth is created. That's not how wealth is created. So I'll give an example. A lot of people who, maybe even guys working for Old Mutual, don't know that Old Mutual started investing into Bitcoin as early as 2017. Right? So the question is, why is this not made public? Your Nespers, had shares in Luno few years back, so, but this is something that's not really making headlines. So I'm a believer that we should not just look at mainstream anything. Look at it with a pinch of salt, but also try to, get other alternative, opinions out there. And whatever you do, just make sure that you learn as much as you can. Especially things like, like your money, your health, because that should be, something that's the most dear to you, So, financial advisor might not know, might actually even discourage you and tell you that it actually fluctuates. Which tradable asset doesn't fluctuate? Gold fluctuates, right? The rand fluctuates. Everything fluctuates. As long as it's publicly traded, it is going to fluctuate. But if you understand the fundamentals, right? How many times did Tesla shares, go down like a ridiculous amount, only to recover, in a few days? Or in a few months, at least. So, I mean, you have to understand the fundamentals. So if you really understand the fundamentals regarding Bitcoin, then it's easy to see. I mean, look at it this way. We were told that we were late for Bitcoin, but MicroStrategy, not only they are still preparing to buy Bitcoins worth $42 billion. Right now, they are responsible for the biggest Bitcoin purchase, even bigger than BlackRock.
Okay.
But they still are actually preparing to buy even more Bitcoins into the future. That's just one company, right? Other companies are obviously going to sort of follow suit. In fact, right now, he's actually planning a meeting with Microsoft, where he's going to be helping Microsoft as to how they can account for it, how they can buy it, how they can store it, you know. So that's Microsoft. What about Apple? What about all these other companies, right? That are publicly listed? If they see the effect on the shares, on everything, you know, for MicroStrategy, they are going to follow suit.
Sure.
So you're not late, Chief.
Basically, the crux of the matter is that we are not late, guys.
Yeah.
Yo, you know what I enjoy my conversations with Lonwabo because you're a sea of wealth, especially when it comes to this. Maybe because I'm not really that involved in the crypto space as you are. So I think whenever I see you, we talk, like I always leave like, hey, that man.
Free mentorship.
Yeah.
One on one.
Hey, for real, though.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. Gee. Yeah, so how are you doing lately? Especially now that crypto is like just reaching its heights. I know I asked that in the beginning, but just how are you doing, like in general?
Look, obviously I'm excited about what crypto is doing. But at the very same time, you know, so I came to Bitcoin because I wanted to make money. I stayed in Bitcoin because I saw that we could make a difference.
Okay.
So I often say to people, me talking here right now with you about Bitcoin, I honestly feel like I'm doing God's work.
Okay.
Like from the bottom of my heart. Why? Because I believe that for a very long time we had a veil over our eyes as far as money is concerned. And this is so deeply entrenched, you know, in our education system. I'll give you one example. 2017, I'm in Dubai. I'm doing a seminar teaching about Bitcoin at the DIFC. There was a couple there from Zim. At the end of my session, this couple, you know, I don't know whether they discussed this before or whatever, but, you know, it's a time for Q&A. The husband raises the hand. What's the question? And this guy doesn't ask me anything. He just raises the hand to tell me that I actually don't like Bitcoin. I was like, okay. So tell me why you don't like Bitcoin. He says, because it's not backed by anything. I said, really? Okay. I said, do you like the US dollar? He says, yes, of course. And I asked him, what do you think backs the US dollar? And then he started scratching his head literally. He said, well, is it not backed by gold? But I said, who told it's backed by gold? The US dollar has not been backed by gold since 1971. And even in 1971, it was partially backed by gold. And President Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. Right now, it's free floating money. That's what's called fiat. It's not backed by anything. Right? So, but you cannot really say the same about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Because of its network effect. You know, so I think for me, I'm excited because, you know, I can talk for hours you know, regarding this particular topic because I'm passionate about people understanding what this actually means. If you really think about it, if you had done nothing over the last 10 years, you just simply took 1,000 rands and you bought Bitcoins 10 years ago and you did nothing, you'll be in a completely different space right now. It's a window of opportunity that's unprecedented in the history of mankind. We've never had this opportunity of wealth transfer in the history of mankind. Even if you talk about the gold rush, you know, who got rich? You know, because gold was specifically in one geographical location. People had to travel there. Those who could not travel for whatever reason could not reach the gold. Those who did not had, the money to buy the equipment, the picks and the shovels and the what, they could not get in, right? So, but this one, every person that, whether it's an uncle, whether it's an aunt, it doesn't really matter who they are and where they are. They can actually participate in this revolution, and they can actually create wealth for themselves. So it's an unprecedented wealth transfer. And I think the more people knows about it, the better. And I think specifically us as Africans, it gives an opportunity to really have something that there's no gatekeeping involved. I mean, look at all the industries that are very lucrative right now. You'll find that they're gatekeepers. As a result, if you don't have the right name, the right connections, you might not be able to get into certain industries where there is real wealth being created, right? So, but with Bitcoin and with crypto, there's no gatekeepers. The only thing standing between you and becoming a billionaire in the next 5-10 years is knowledge, applying yourself, and being committed to learning about the space, and not just learning about it, but actually doing something about it.
Yeah.
Sure. Interesting. So I think we have come to a point where you're basically saying we have to do away with connections to try to be something in life these days. I mean, you look at the crypto space now. Obviously, you mentioned. Obviously, we know that it's a hedge against fiat currency devaluation, but I think that's why now you have a lot of regulators coming in, because they've got no central authority over it. Decentralized, and there's nothing you can do. But what's your take on crypto and taxation?
Interesting. So I'm going to start this way. I personally do not understand the obsession with governments with thinking that people cannot think for themselves.
Okay.
I don't understand the obsession with that, but there seems to be a great obsession with governments and regulators in assuming that people are stupid, in assuming that people cannot think for themselves and really apply their minds, right, into whatever they're doing. So that's one thing. Secondly, regarding taxation, I don't think taxation is wrong as such, but I think the ignorance of the tax code is what is the problem. For example, it's interesting because one, taxation is not wrong in terms of the original intent of it, but if you look at the tax code, people that are going to be or are at the who are bearing the brunt of the tax code, it's actually people that are employees. I'm not against employees, but what I'm saying is that they've got no recourse. But if you're an entrepreneur, let's say you're running this podcast and you're renting this particular place for the podcast. I mean, you get a tax deduction against that, whatever it costs you to actually create whatever you've created here. You can actually claim against that, and you'll find that the amount of money that you end up paying is far less. And of course, even the tax rate for companies, it's 28% in South Africa, but for individuals, it's up to I think 43% or something like that. So you can see that it's not designed for employees as such, but it's actually designed for entrepreneurs, right? So if we understand that and are able to position ourselves as far as that is concerned, I think then it is good. But on the other hand, I'm watching a podcast of this particular gentleman from the UAE. He was being interviewed by another gentleman in the UK. And this guy is saying, you guys in the West, is always talking about the US, and he says, you guys in the West, you're paying up to 40 to 50%, of your income in taxation. And he's asking, what do you get exactly for this amount of money that you're paying? You still have got a subpar education system. You still have got, subpar health system. You still have got problem with security. Now, if you can't walk around with a Rolex watch because somebody's going to come and take it from you, you have to, spend more money in trying to secure whatever you've acquired for yourself. Whereas you can go to places where there is no personal income tax, but then the security is unmatched. You look at the health system is unmatched. You look at the education system, it's unmatched, right? So he was talking about, so if the governments were to actually be as efficient, in utilizing the tax money as they're efficient in collecting it, because governments are very efficient in collecting taxes. But when it comes to doing what they need to do, nobody actually holds the government accountable, right? As far as that is concerned. So if we were to have a match whereby I'm paying top dollar for my taxes, but at the very same time, I'm getting top dollar service. I don't need to, get into any state because of security. I don't need to hire private security. I don't need to take my kids to a private, education system so that they can get, good quality education. Then it would, make a lot of sense. So with that being said, I don't think we can run away from taxes. But the reason why I'm an advocate for entrepreneurship and independence is that if you feel like you're not treated well in a specific geographical place, nothing is stopping you from finding a place that is actually going to treat you well. That's the nice thing about entrepreneurs, right? Is that if you feel that I'm paying too much tax, but then what I'm getting in return, it's not really worth the while, then I should find a way of how I can get to tax-friendly jurisdictions. And of course, there's a lot we can talk about as far as that is concerned. So how you can be more efficient, right? Yes, give to Caesar what is due to Caesar, but there's ways of actually being efficient. There's guys who are running business in South Africa, but then their businesses are domiciled elsewhere. They're paying taxes elsewhere, but of course, there's very good tax practitioners who can advise people on what to do and how to be more efficient. Don't go for the cheapest. We've done that and we got our fingers burnt quite badly. So don't necessarily go for the cheapest. Make sure that you are protected.
Would Dubai be one of the jurisdictions?
Personally, I'm not afraid to say I love Dubai.
Okay.
For so many different reasons. One, I've got kids. I would love to, the same way I feel about my estate right now. If my kids running around riding bicycles, I don't need to worry, what if they get kidnapped? What if this happened? What if, I don't need to worry about that. That's an estate. In Dubai, it's the whole country.
Sure.
That's one. And secondly, Dubai, you'll find that almost every person who's there is an expert, so they are there, or expat, right? So they are there to create a living for themselves. They're there to create a future for themselves. They're there to earn a living. So as a result, you find people that are more willing to collaborate with you. We were there and for the first time there for business, not necessarily for vacation. I was shocked to realize that almost every person you meet wants to know what you're doing, what industry you're in. And if it's nothing that aligns with them, they know somebody who's in the same industry. They say, let me connect you with so-and-so. Maybe you can see if you guys can collaborate and, something happens. And they're not looking to gain anything out of that transaction. When was the last time you had a conversation like that in South Africa?
Sure, without cold drink.
Hey.
Do you understand?
Hands need to be washed. All the hands need to be washed.
It's crazy. Like, my friend and business partner here, he used to, do tenders.
Okay. Hey.
It's amazing how you provide a service, but then for you to get paid, you need to pay for your invoice to actually be actioned. But then you go to countries that are safe. You go to countries like the UAE, safe in terms of crime, safe in terms of women and children can walk around the street any time of the night. They don't need to worry about being mugged. You can leave your car outside, not locked. You're not gonna find your car missing or something in your car, that has gone missing. And on top of that, they've created this friendly environment specifically for people in the crypto space and every other industry, even real estate as well, where people can actually go there and make a living for themselves, right? I like the fact that there's leadership. I was watching one video. This guy from the UAE, he was actually talking to a Nigerian guy. He says, "You guys have got oil, you've got this, you've got gold, you've got this, you've got that. What do we have in Dubai? We've got leadership." That's all we have.
That was so powerful.
Yeah.
So, because even the oil, it's not really the biggest contributor into the GDP. They've diversified their income, away from that. So for me, I love places. I mean, I left the Eastern Cape to come to Johannesburg because I found it fascinating because everybody's working, everybody's progressing, everybody, not that people are not working there, but I like the fact that I walk out of my house, I get challenged immediately, So Dubai is such place for, for whether you're an employee or an entrepreneur. And of course, the fact that you're paying, zero personal income tax is also amazing, You get to keep all your money and you can grow your wealth, you can invest in different things.
And you spend more. I think that encourages people to spend more in the country.
Yeah, so we were speaking to somebody that works for that DMCC. He was actually talking about that we make it easy for people to come and safe for people to come because we know it's going to contribute into the country's GDP. People are going to feel safe here. They're going to spend, they're going to buy cars, they're going to buy properties, they're going to send their kids to school, it grows the economy, right? And I think if every country were to take that stance in terms of trying to, encourage people moving into their country by, look, I've traveled quite a lot, right? Not as much as I would love to, but I've traveled quite a lot. I can tell you one thing. South Africa is the best country in the world.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
With everything, with the climate, the natural, splendor of this country, I think the only thing, or there's just a few things that are letting us down as a country, but otherwise we've got the most beautiful country in the world. And everywhere you go, people will tell you, people who've been to South Africa, they will tell you, South Africa is a beautiful country,
Everything about South Africa is beautiful, man. Yeah, anyway.
Everything, yeah.
Like what?
It's MJ.
E.g.
There's the land. That's beautiful. Yo, crypto, it's here. Obviously you've already put out your personal prediction on crypto, saying that we're going to 250 next year. I also believe that we also spoke about the future of crypto or Bitcoin in our interview that we did together. But just to also reiterate on that, on where you see, why I'm asking this, it's also about, we're actually talking and we're discussing that how when I receive crypto, it still needs to go to my bank. And it kind of defeats the purpose of having crypto as well, and it needs to be spent somehow. So I just want you just to touch on like the future of, or where you see the future of crypto going.
So right now there's this wave of Web3.
Okay.
Right. Web 1 was us reading on the website. Web 2 was us being able to input data on the website. Web 3 is us owning our own data, having, that freedom, So I think what's going to happen right now for a lot of people who are new in the crypto space, for them to buy crypto, they have to go through a centralized authority, which is a centralized exchange, because it's a lot easier. There are other ways that are more decentralized. A lot of people in the crypto space, myself included, like more the decentralized nature of crypto. So because we live in a surveillance environment right now globally, not that you've got anything to hide, but you just want Yeah. So
Now we get it.
So we are going to see a lot more move towards the decentralized nature of crypto. I think centralized exchanges are right now the permanent feature. I don't think they will be permanent for a very long time or forever. There will be a time whereby people are going to be more decentralized, using their own non-custodial wallets, using decentralized exchanges for them to buy or trade. But we're slowly moving into that direction. So I think that is what is going to happen. People are going to be more aware about self-custody and so forth, because if you think about it, your Bitcoins in a centralized exchange, it's like your money in the bank. It's not yours, right? You've given it over to someone, and that's why when you apply for a withdrawal, right, it has to be approved, but whereas if the money is with you, you don't need to account to anyone. You can just, if you want to spend it, you go to spend it. You go and spend your money, right? So crypto is supposed to be like that. However, because it's a lot easier utilizing these trusted third parties, everybody is using them, but the more people get to learn and understand, remember, this is a very new thing, right? People will move towards more the decentralized space. But over and above that, one of the things that we have taken on ourselves, in a personal capacity, is that we think the whole idea of crypto, if it's money, you should be able to spend it without having to sell it. Right? If it's money, you should be able to spend it. And there's been very little infrastructure, even though the very first car dealership that accepted Bitcoin as a form of payment was a dealership in Miami as early as 2013, where you could literally go and buy a Lamborghini using Bitcoins, right? And there's a lot more businesses, a lot more shops right now that are opening up to that. But what happens with those shops and businesses that are not necessarily aware, or cannot use the technology at this moment, right? And I want to live on Bitcoin, so how am I going to transact? So with the platform that I'm not sure if I can mention, right? Yeah. So with the platform that we are launching in the next few days, it's called Banki. Whereby it's a crypto-friendly debit card that we are marketing. So if I've got Bitcoins wherever, or whatever, Ethereum, whatever, crypto that I have, and I want to spend it, I can just simply, download the app, do my KYC, because we have to, and then send my crypto into the card, and then I can spend it as easy and as simple as I use my bank card, right? So if I go to a shop, right, and I swipe, they won't even know whether I use a crypto debit card or I'm actually using a bank debit card, because it's working off the same Visa network, right? So wherever Visa or MasterCard works, that card works, right? So if there's a car guard who's got a card machine, I can tip the car guard using Bitcoins, but he won't even know. He will receive Fiat, right? But even that is temporary. We're gonna get to a point whereby everybody is receiving crypto straight into the wallet without necessarily using rails through Visa and MasterCard. But that's maybe like 10 or 20 years down the line. But we are going to see crypto being more and more being used mainstream, on a day-to-day basis. I know people right now who 100% live on crypto. They'll go and book a car at Avis using crypto.
Oh yeah.
Avis won't even know it, because they're utilizing, these Visa debit cards or MasterCard debit cards that are crypto friendly. And that's where the future is at. But in terms of wealth creation, we are going to see more and more entrepreneurs entering into the space, because of the fact that it's really an asymmetric bet, in terms of what the upside in being an entrepreneur in this space is a lot higher. And then of course there is risk, of course, like any other entrepreneurship venture. But if you get it right, look at it this way. The guy who started Binance, CZ, he started Binance in 2017. Today is rumored to be worth over 72 billion. Who do you know in such a short space of time has made that kind of money? I don't know personally of any industry that has created, and there's quite a number of billionaires like that, who started, as early as 2015, 2016, 2017, who today are billionaires. Think of the Winklevoss twins, who were, part of Facebook, but then whatever happened with them and Mark Zuckerberg, but they won the lawsuit, and they bought Bitcoins. Today they are billionaires, So yeah, I think the future, we are going to see more and more businesses accepting Bitcoin or crypto as a form of payment. We're going to see more and more people utilizing it on a day-to-day basis. We're going to see entrepreneurs entering the space. Even Forex brokers right now, they allow you to trade crypto as well.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
it's inevitable.
Yeah.
So you guys are basically creating a crypto bank.
Well, I don't want to call it that for obvious reasons, but you can think of it as a neobank, right?
Okay.
If you think of banks like Revolut is a neobank, right? It's not a traditional bank, but they provide banking services, right? So there's something they call banking as a service. So that's what we're providing. We're providing banking as a service because you can actually have a USD bank account, an IBAN, what they call an IBAN, international bank account number. You can have a British pound. And the crazy thing is that it's easier to get those accounts as an IBANs. For South Africa, it's possible, but the only challenge is South Africa's got capital control. So there's a lot more that then goes into that. But we also want to add ZAI as well. And the nice thing is that even if a person does not necessarily like crypto, but for some reason they don't have access to banking, they're able to utilize banking as a service, through our platform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Right now, when you're just speaking about all the people who became billionaires from like 2017, 2015, actually right now, I think I read a post recently on how Lamborghini has had a record sales, like ever since. Like they are selling Lambos like crazy these past few years, and it's because of your online, the internet, the people who are the crypto guys and whatnot. People are buying Lambos, the Euros, the whatnot. Like it's, they're buying the Mercedes nowadays.
Yeah.
So it's actually really powerful though.
Yeah. I mean, the online space is really fascinating. I'm not sure if it was the same article. They're saying the Lamborghini Urus is sold out until 2026.
Okay.
You can't get a new one.
Is it?
Until 2026. So and it's because of this newfound wealth. The truth is, I don't know if maybe we're not necessarily ready to admit it, but the truth is it's far more easier today to create wealth and become a billionaire or at least a multimillionaire because of all these online platforms that are now available as opposed to 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. Right now, billionaires are becoming younger. They're becoming billionaires a lot faster than what they were, 30 years ago. Look at Donald Trump. He's worked all his life as an entrepreneur, playing at the highest level. He's worth what, $6 billion? And he actually inherited some wealth, right? But then if you look at your CZ and your Justin Sons, all these guys who became, billionaires over the last, few years, they are a lot richer than him, even though they only started, recently as opposed to him. So again, it talks to different industries that are being born today that are making it easy for us to really be able to create massive wealth.
Yeah. Are there any other they called assets, right, that you're looking at apart from Bitcoin?
There's so many interesting ones. One of them, maybe an obvious one, would be Solana.
Yes.
So Solana is an obvious one simply because if you look at the next biggest crypto asset next to Bitcoin is Ethereum. But then that gap has widened so much between Ethereum and Bitcoin, right? There are so many different reasons, that I don't want to go into right now because it's a long conversation. But what Ethereum is, it's simply a platform that allows decentralized applications. Because remember, Bitcoin is the first iteration. It's just money. It's the foundation of this new decentralized era, right? But what do we have on top of money? If you look at the hierarchy, we've got money, and then on top of money, we've got financial services, different financial products that are being built on top of that, and it becomes like this one, big pyramid. But money forms the base of that. So Bitcoin is that base, right? So right now, we then need to, how do we then build a more decentralized financial system, that's more open, that's more transparent, that's more accommodating. Because right now in the decentralized space, you can actually go and get a loan, right? Of course, you will need collateral with most platforms. You can get a loan. It doesn't know your gender, your age, it doesn't know if you're black or white. There's no credit score required or anything, nothing arbitrary that is used to actually punish you, either for the past or for the color of your skin or for your gender or for where you stay, right? So you have that. So the problem that Ethereum came into, even though it's worth a lot of money, right? The market cap, I don't know, it's in the hundreds of millions. But Solana is solving a lot of problems that Ethereum actually came into. Again, this is a new technology. The reason why Ethereum has had problem with scaling and so forth, because a lot of what we are seeing could not have been foreseen before in terms of how quickly people adopt this technology and so forth and so forth. So Solana is solving a lot of problems. It is cheap, it is fast, and you can actually build a lot more stuff on it as opposed to Ethereum. So right now, I think it's around $200 and something. I think it's an easy $1,000 and over $1,000 play in my book. So that is Solana. But then if you look at everything else outside of Bitcoin, it's solving this or that other problem, right? Bringing decentralized finance and so forth through smart contracts and all of that. Now, there is another contender that a lot of people are not aware of. It's called Stacks. I love Stacks because Stacks is a Bitcoin layer 2. It does everything that all these other platforms does outside of Bitcoin, is bringing them on top of Bitcoin. So what's going to happen is that as Bitcoin gets more and more expensive, and retail traders and retail users are going to give up on trying to get Bitcoin and say, what's the next best thing? They will want something that's going to be more aligned closely to Bitcoin. So Stacks is bringing what Ethereum is doing back into Bitcoin, what Solana is doing back into Bitcoin. So I think it potentially in the future, I think it's one of the assets that's going to do well. And then again, for people that don't mind taking risk, meme coins are the buzz of this particular cycle. Again, meme coins, you have to understand, there's no utility. It's community. It's a gamble. Your token can do 1,000% gain in a short space of time. It can also go down. So there's quite a lot into it. But for new people, I always encourage them to study Bitcoin first. Get into Bitcoin first, right? And then you can learn all these other things, once you understand Bitcoin.
Dogecoin up by 152%, I think.
Dogecoin is an interesting one because Elon Musk loves it so much, and we have seen what has happened with the elections. He is now going to head Department of Governmental Efficiency, which spells out Doge. and even before that, he was pro Doge, for so many different reasons. So if the meme market is going to do well, Doge is the leader of the meme market. I've seen reports of people estimating that Doge can get to $3. Per token, and then they state the reasons why. I do believe that it's going to do well, but then again, you have to understand that it's speculation, right? There's no utility behind it, right? So it might do well because of that, but understand, don't put all your bags, into Dogecoin, because what other people were doing is when they look at you cannot. For an ordinary person, it's difficult to get one full Bitcoin, right? So people are looking at, okay, if I can get this particular coin and I can get 1 million of it, therefore it means, if this thing goes up, it's not really about the number of coins. Right? It's about the market cap. It's about, a whole lot of different things that one has to look at. So don't buy a coin simply because you want to get X number of coins, 1 million coins, 10 million coins, whatever the cases. You might get 10 million coins that are worth nothing. So you have to understand community. You have to understand, the sentiment around that particular token, and what is the community like around that particular token? Because meme coins are going to be very big in the cycle, but there's also quite a lot of. I think in a day, 98% of the coins created in that particular day die in that same day. You know, and 99.9% of those coins that die in the same day are in the meme space. So you really have to tread carefully there. Yeah.
Sure. Is there anything else you want to add?
Look, if there's one thing that I would want to close with is, again, what I said earlier, cryptocurrencies or crypto assets, as our governments would like us to call them, present an unprecedented opportunity. It's really a wealth hack of the 21st century. I don't really care what business you're doing. If you're going to be earning money selling vegetables on the street, you want to put some of that money into an asset that can help it to appreciate in value over time. You know, so you know, I was excited because I always talk about this on Facebook, and I saw one guy was saying, I'm actually selling acha on the street, and I take some of my profits, and I've been buying Bitcoin, you know, over the last 2-3 years. Now that person who's been buying Bitcoins over the last 2-3 years, you know, 5 years from now is going to be in a completely different space, especially if they don't sell. You know, so my advice is get involved. You know, don't just, you know, when Robert Kiyosaki is asked which is the best asset to invest in, he says the one you're willing to study. So before you put money into Bitcoin, study Bitcoin. You know, take, you know, 30 minutes a day, you know, just read up as much as you can, and always try to balance, right? If somebody Bitcoin is trash, understand why they say so. If somebody says Bitcoin is gold, it's the next best thing, understand why they say so, and then reconcile the two, and then make your own informed decision from there.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, the only bad thing I did about the episode was not to bring the notebook.
But MJ, you say that every single time.
No, if I'm learning.
If you're learning.
Yeah, if I'm learning, I'm going to definitely say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but thank God it's going to be on YouTube, so I can always rewind and study.
Yeah,
learned a lot.
Yeah, I've also learned. I stay learning. Yeah.
Learned a lot.
I stay learning. Yeah. But it's fine. We'll leave it for another day. No, Mr. Fololo, thank you so much for your time. I know it was last minute when I asked you to come through, but thank you for just availing yourself to come and just share knowledge as well, and allowing us to take what you have and give it to the people as well. I really do appreciate that.
Awesome. Pleasure being here.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
My time. Myself, Nqobile Tembane.
MJ Givens Kgasi.
We love you guys. We'll see you guys next week.
Cheers.